Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something, well, something that hits home for millions, but it often stays in the shadows, kind of invisible.
Mm-hmm.
We're diving into those big changes men go through in midlife. You hear it called andropause, sometimes even male menopause.
That's right. And we've got quite a bit of material here. Research papers, notes from experts, various reports, all looking at this from different angles.
Yeah.
So our mission really is to cut through the confusion, maybe break some of that silence we mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
pull out the key insights from all this stuff, and show how this phase for you could actually be a time of, well, powerful transformation.
Think of this as your roadmap through what the sources say is most important here. A shortcut, maybe, to getting informed on something deeply personal, but yeah, rarely talked about openly.
Okay.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with the basics, the biology. What are the sources telling us is going on physically?
Well, the absolute core, according to all the material, is testosterone.
Mm.
It's just crucial.
Yeah.
It impacts, muscle, bone health, energy, mood, sex drive, pretty much everything.
Okay.
And what's interesting is that while testosterone levels do naturally decline, it's gradual, usually starting around 30 or 40, maybe 1% a year.
Uh-huh.
That decline itself doesn't automatically mean problems for every single guy.
So the drop is normal, expected even, but the symptoms, they're not guaranteed.
Exactly. That's where the term andropause comes in, or the more medical term is late onset hypogonadism.
Right.
It's used when that drop becomes significant enough to actually cause noticeable kind of impactful changes physically and emotionally for some men.
Okay.
But it's not just testosterone. The sources point out other hormones matter too. DHEA, growth
Yeah.
hormone, even thyroid levels can shift around and add to the picture.
So it sounds pretty complex then, not just one thing. What are some of the main symptoms the sources keep highlighting? The things men might notice?
Oh, there's quite a range, and they can really mess with daily life. Fatigue is a huge one, just feeling wiped out all the time, and it often gets brushed off as, just getting older.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Reduced libido, changes in sexual function,
Yeah.
like trouble with erections. Those are mentioned frequently too.
Yeah.
And emotionally, well, mood swings, getting irritable easily, anxiety, even depression, or just losing that drive, that motivation.
So it's hitting both physically and mentally, emotionally.
Absolutely. And physically, you might see actual loss of muscle mass, maybe strength decreasing even if you're still active.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, an increase in body fat, especially around the middle, that sort of classic midsection spread.
Right.
Sleep problems are common too. Trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, or just feeling like you didn't really rest.
Okay.
And one thing many sources link to the hormones is cognitive stuff.
Hmm.
Difficulty concentrating, memory slips, what people often call brain fog.
That brain fog.
Mm.
The sources describe it as more than just being forgetful, right? Like a real slowness.
Yeah, exactly. Like wading through mental mud sometimes.
Yeah.
Tasks that used to be easy feel harder.
Wow.
And all this stuff, you can see how it would impact work, relationships, just general happiness.
Definitely.
But here's the crucial bit the research stresses. While these can be signs of andropause, you absolutely need a medical check. So many of these symptoms overlap with other things.
Like what?
Thyroid problems, low iron, actual clinical depression, sleep apnea, lots of possibilities.
So trying to figure it out yourself isn't really the way to go?
Definitely not. You need a proper evaluation, usually involving blood tests, to rule other things out. And the sources say diagnosing andropause isn't always cut and dried either.
How so?
Well, hormone levels can fluctuate day to day, and sometimes symptoms are significant, even if the levels are just, low normal. It's off the whole clinical picture plus the tests.
That sounds tricky, especially needing medical help for something that, as you said, guys seem reluctant to even mention.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets really interesting, doesn't it? This massive silence and stigma around it. Especially when you compare it to how much more openly we talk about women's menopause now.
It's a stark contrast.
Why did the sources say the silence is so persistent?
Well, the material points to some really deep-seated stuff.
Huh?
A big one is just the fear of seeming weak. Admitting to low energy or sexual changes or feeling vulnerable emotionally. It clashes with those traditional ideas of what it means to be a man, Strength, virility, always being stoic.
Like admitting failure somehow?
It can feel that way, yeah, within that old framework. Another huge factor is just lack of awareness.
Right.
A lot of men, and their partners too, honestly don't even know.
Yeah.
Andropause or late onset hypogonadism is a recognized thing.
Yeah.
They just think, oh, I'm getting old or I'm out of shape.
If you don't know it exists, you can't ask for help for it.
Precisely. And then there's the whole stigma around mental health. Oh yeah, since feeling irritable or down can be part of it, guys feel pressure to hide that stuff. They worry about being judged or told to just man up. Plus, you've got generational habits. In many families, sensitive health stuff just wasn't discussed, period.
So what happens because of all this silence? What are the consequences?
Well, it leads straight to guys feeling isolated,
Hmm.
suffering alone, basically.
Yeah.
It means diagnosis gets delayed, so symptoms get worse before they maybe finally seek help. And ultimately, people just live with untreated symptoms that impact their health, their work, their relationships, when they don't necessarily have to.
And those cultural norms about masculinity, they create a real bind.
Totally. If your whole identity is wrapped up in physical power, sexual performance, being totally independent emotionally, well, these changes can feel like they're shaking your very foundation.
So you feel like you have to hide it, maybe even from yourself.
Yes. And that pressure can push guys towards unhealthy ways of coping, right? Like maybe throwing themselves into work even harder or drinking too much or just denial. And it breeds shame, feeling like a failure. The sources really emphasize that recognizing these pressures is the first step to challenging them and challenging the myths that keep men stuck.
Okay, let's bust some of those myths then. What are the big ones the sources call out?
Well, one huge one is andropause isn't real, or it's just, some marketing term.
Right.
Sources are clear. Nope, it's a medically recognized condition. Late onset hypogonadism with symptoms. It varies, sure, but the impact is real for some men.
Okay, what else?
Another really damaging one. Low testosterone means you're not really a man anymore.
Oof.
Yeah, just completely untrue. Masculinity, as the material explores it, is about character, values, resilience, how you connect with people, integrity, stuff that goes way deeper than hormone levels or performance.
That reframing feels crucial.
It absolutely is. Then there's the myth. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just aging.
The resignation myth.
Exactly. And the sources strongly push back on that. They detail all sorts of strategies, lifestyle changes, medical help, emotional support that can make a real difference in symptoms and quality of life.
Good to know.
And finally, the idea that only really old men get this. Not true. While it gets more common with age, the symptoms we talked about, they can definitely start showing up in a guy's late 30s or early 40s.
So busting these myths is step one towards actually doing something.
Yeah, it empowers men to move from just accepting it to actively engaging with their health.
Okay, so moving beyond the physical and the silence, the sources also really dig into the emotional and mental health side. You mentioned they can be just as tough, maybe even tougher for some guys.
They really can be, and they're often tangled up with the physical stuff. We mentioned the mood changes that increased irritability, swinging moods, feeling sad or down, which can slide into depression, more anxiety. These aren't just like fleeting bad moods. They can stick around and feel really heavy. And the cognitive things, the trouble focusing, memory issues, that brain fog, it can make work feel impossible, make complex tasks feel overwhelming. That causes its own stress and worry, right, about your own mind.
Is there a clear link explained in the sources between the hormones changing and these mental shifts?
Oh yeah, the material makes a strong case for that mind-hormone connection. Hormones like testosterone, they don't just build muscle. They influence neurotransmitters in your brain.
Like serotonin, dopamine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those chemicals regulate mood, motivation, energy, clear thinking. So when testosterone drops, it can disrupt that whole system that directly impacts how you feel emotionally and how sharp you feel mentally.
So these aren't just reactions to stress or, all in your head. There's a biological basis.
Absolutely rooted in biology. Now, life stress definitely plays a role. It makes everything harder.
Yeah.
But the hormonal shifts can make men just more susceptible to feeling anxious or down or finding it hard to concentrate. That's why the sources stress these changes aren't imaginary. They reflect real biological shifts that need attention, just like a physical symptom.
Which means getting support. But given everything we said about silence and stigma, that sounds like a huge barrier.
It is a barrier, no doubt. But the sources consistently frame seeking help as a sign of strength.
Not weakness.
Not weakness at all. Just like you'd see a doctor for a physical injury, take care of your mental health during this time is vital.
Yeah.
And support comes in different forms, right?
Right.
The material talks about, obviously, talking to your doctor, but also therapy or counseling, getting tools to navigate these feelings, finding support groups, connecting with other men who get it. or even incorporating things like mindfulness, meditation, deep breathing, just spending time outside in nature to manage stress.
And combining that with the basics.
Exactly. Getting enough sleep, eating well, moving your body regularly, those are fundamental for mental and emotional well-being too.
Right.
They support that whole mind-hormone balance.
Right.
The main message is, help is out there. Reaching out is a powerful move.
It makes perfect sense that these changes wouldn't just affect the individual man, but would ripple out into his relationships, especially with a partner.
Yeah, that's a major focus in the relationship. Insights from the sources. Those changes in intimacy, we talked about lower sex drive, erection difficulties that can cause real tension.
Understandably.
And then add the emotional stuff, being moodier or withdrawn or irritable. That puts a strain on communication, on connection.
It feels like it would be really easy for partners to misunderstand what's going on.
Totally. A partner might see these changes and feel rejected. They might think he's not attracted to me anymore or he doesn't care, not realizing there are underlying biological things happening.
Right.
Meanwhile, the guy might be feeling guilty, frustrated, embarrassed about it all, which makes him clam up even more.
Vicious cycle.
Exactly. So the sources really push for understanding these changes as, well, a natural part of this life stage. That understanding allows both people to approach intimacy with more patience, empathy, maybe creativity too.
And the material actually broadens the idea of intimacy here, doesn't it?
It does. It really emphasizes that intimacy is way more than just sex.
Okay.
It's about emotional closeness, trust, being vulnerable together, connecting through shared experiences, supporting each other. When the physical side changes, focusing on these other ways to connect becomes even more vital.
That's a really helpful perspective shift. But still,
Yeah.
how do you even start that conversation, talking about things this personal, this sensitive?
Yeah, it's tough. The sources give some practical tips, though, like choose a good time and place, calm, private, no distractions. Try to be honest and specific about what you're feeling and experiencing, physically and emotionally.
Yeah.
Using I statements helps avoid blame.
Like,
I've been feeling really tired lately, or I've noticed my sex drive isn't what it used to be, and I'm worried about how that affects us. And then, really important, invite your partner to ask questions. And truly listen to their feelings and concerns, too. It has to be a two-way street.
right?
And crucially, the sources say don't be afraid to get outside help, like couples counseling, if you need a safe space to talk it through.
It really sounds like being vulnerable is the secret sauce here.
It really is. Opening up builds connection. Going through this together, talking honestly about midlife changes,
Ooh.
it can actually make the bond stronger.
Interesting.
The sources frame andropause not just as a relationship challenge, but maybe surprisingly, as a chance to deepen things through understanding, empathy, patience, working as a team.
How? What kind of strategies?
Things like learning about it together, maybe reading some of this material, making time for quality connection that isn't just about sex, practicing empathy, really trying to see it from the other's perspective, keeping communication open, and, yeah, seeking professional help together if needed. With effort and vulnerability, relationships can definitely navigate this and come out stronger.
Okay, so we've covered the science, the silence, the emotional fallout, the relationship impact. Let's get practical now. What can men actually do to manage symptoms, boost their vitality? What strategies do the sources lay out?
Right, the action plan. The material covers both natural approaches and medical ones, and it really stresses they often work best together.
Okay.
So on the natural side, nutrition is huge, supporting hormone balance, overall energy.
What specifically?
The sources highlight things like healthy fats, avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, because they're building blocks for hormones. Zinc and magnesium are key for testosterone production. Think oysters, beef, spinach, leafy greens. Vitamin D is important too from sun or supplements. Antioxidant-rich foods like berries, veggies help fight inflammation.
Yeah.
And getting enough protein helps hang on to muscle mass.
And what should be avoided?
Yeah, the sources warn against too much sugar, refined carbs, heavily processed foods. Those can mess with hormone balance and fuel inflammation.
Makes sense. So diet is foundational. What about exercise?
Exercise comes up again and again as incredibly powerful. It directly tackles a lot of the symptoms. It can actually boost testosterone levels naturally. It helps build and keep muscle, which gets harder with hormonal changes. It lifts mood, endorphins, and ramps up energy.
What kind of exercise?
The sources recommend a mix. Strength training is key, lifting weights using resistance bands, body weight stuff maybe 2-3 times a week. Building muscle really helps metabolism and hormone levels.
Okay.
Then aerobic exercise, brisk walking, jogging, cycling for heart health and endurance. And don't forget, flexibility and balance, like yoga or stretching.
So a well-rounded approach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And consistency is the name of the game. Aiming for around 150 minutes of moderate activity a week is a good target, but always listening to your body.
Okay, nutrition, exercise. What other natural pillars are critical?
Sleep and stress management. These are huge and maybe where things often fall apart.
Tell me more.
Quality sleep, like 7 to 9 hours, is non-negotiable. A lot of hormone production and body repair happens while you sleep. And chronic stress. It's a testosterone killer. High levels of the stress hormone, cortisol, actively suppress testosterone and make mood and energy problems worse.
So managing stress isn't just a nice to have.
It's vital. Integrating stress-reducing habits, mindfulness, deep breathing exercises, getting out in nature, having hobbies you enjoy makes a real difference.
Okay.
And finally, just basic healthy habits. Cutting back on alcohol, definitely avoiding smoking, staying hydrated. It all adds up to support better hormone balance and just feeling better overall. These are the foundations.
That's a solid natural toolkit. What about beyond that? What medical options do the sources discuss?
Well, the main one discussed is testosterone replacement therapy, TRT.
Okay.
This is usually considered when a man has diagnosed low testosterone and he's experiencing significant symptoms that bother him. The whole point of TRT is to get those testosterone levels back into a healthier range to hopefully relieve the symptoms.
How is it administered?
The sources mention different ways. Injections are common, often self-administered. There are also skin patches or gels, pellets implanted into the skin, and sometimes oral meds, though less common maybe.
And what are the potential upsides, the benefits, the material highlights?
Well, when it's the right treatment for the right person, TRT can lead to some pretty significant improvements. Better energy, more stamina, often a noticeable boost in libido and sexual function. Mood can improve, thinking can feel clearer, increases in muscle mass and bone density, sometimes even better sleep.
Those sound like game changers. But there must be downsides or risks too, right? What do the sources say about that?
Absolutely. And the material is clear. TRT isn't risk-free and needs careful medical supervision. Potential downsides include things like an increase in red blood cell count, which could slightly raise clot risk. Skin reactions like acne can happen. There's a need to monitor prostate health. It's generally avoided if there's a history of prostate cancer. Some guys might get fluid retention or breast tenderness. It definitely requires ongoing monitoring by a doctor who knows what they're doing.
And are there myths around TRT itself, like with Andropause?
Oh yeah, several. One big one is that TRT is like a magic Superman pill.
Right.
The sources say, nope. It can help symptoms of low T, but it works best alongside those healthy lifestyle changes we talked about. It doesn't replace them.
Good point.
Another is about fertility. TRT can reduce sperm production. So if a man is planning on having children, that's a critical discussion to have with the doctor about risks and maybe alternatives.
Okay.
And again, the myth that only very old men need it. Symptomatic low T can hit guys across a wider age range in midlife.
Are there alternatives to standard TRT mentioned?
The sources touch on a few things. Some natural supplements get mentioned: tribulus, fenugreek, ashwagandha, maca, popular stuff.
They work?
Well, the evidence is pretty mixed, honestly. The sources advise caution and definitely talking to a doctor before trying them.
Right.
Really optimizing those lifestyle factors: diet, exercise, sleep, stress, that's presented as a key alternative or, more likely, an essential partner to any treatment.
Makes sense.
There are also meds for specific symptoms, like ED drugs or antidepressants, that don't directly change testosterone. Things like bioidentical hormones or pellets are mentioned, but with a strong note about needing expert guidance. And some emerging stuff like SARMs or peptides come up, but the sources are quick to point out these aren't widely approved or fully studied for this, so extreme caution is needed.
So it sounds like the bottom line on medical options is they exist, they can help, but they're best used as part of a bigger picture and always with a knowledgeable doctor involved.
Exactly. It has to be personalized, safe, and fit the individual's whole health picture and goals.
Okay, so putting it all together, the science, the challenges, the strategies, what's the big takeaway? How can men approach this whole midlife phase, not just as damage control, but maybe as something more?
This is where the sources get really insightful, I think. They frame midlife not just as managing decline, but as a profound shift, like an invitation to change your mindset fundamentally.
How so?
A big piece is redefining what masculinity even means. Those old school ideals being a man means only physical strength, being dominant, never showing emotion. Those can become really limiting, even harmful, when your body and emotions are changing.
It sounds like clinging to those old definitions could actually get in the way of navigating this well.
They absolutely can. So the sources suggest expanding the definition. Maybe masculinity also includes the strength it takes to be vulnerable,
Okay.
the courage to face change, the power in being emotionally honest and asking for help. True strength, in this view, is about meeting challenges with integrity, being adaptable, having grace. That kind of redefinition opens up possibilities for deeper relationships, more self-acceptance.
And that acceptance must require building resilience,
Yeah.
right?
Resilience, that ability to bounce back, adapt, is highlighted as just a crucial skill for midlife. And the material points out it's not something you're just born with. You cultivate it. It involves getting clear on your purpose, what really matters to you now. It means developing self-awareness, really understanding your emotions, your physical feelings, your triggers, without judging them.
Okay.
And it means adopting a growth mindset. Seeing the challenges of midlife not as proof of failure, but as chances to learn, adapt, become, a stronger, wiser version of yourself. The sources consistently frame these midlife shifts as a potential catalyst for that kind of growth.
What are some practical tools the sources suggest for actually doing that, fostering that growth?
Setting new goals, meaningful goals after 40 is a big one. Using something like the SMART framework, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, helps make them real.
Right.
But the key is aligning those goals with your current values and purpose, focusing energy on what genuinely brings fulfillment now. Practicing gratitude is mentioned, often shifting focus to the good. Actively building and nurturing your support network, friends, family, groups. Staying curious, engaging in continuous learning, making self-care non-negotiable. Using tools like affirmations or visualization to reinforce positive beliefs about this chapter.
It sounds like midlife approach this way is less about loss and more about building something new and maybe even better.
Exactly. It's presented as a potentially powerful new beginning, transforming the difficulties of andropause into a launch pad for renewed energy, deeper wisdom, and real fulfillment.
Okay, connecting that back to the practical. How does that idea of goal setting help specifically in crafting this next chapter after 40?
It's really about intentional focus. Once you clarify what truly matters, now your values, your evolving purpose goals help you direct your time and energy there, towards the things that will actually bring fulfillment. And breaking big ambitions down into smaller, manageable steps makes it feel less daunting, more doable. The sources talk a lot about aligning 3 key pillars for real vitality in midlife. Health, passion, and purpose.
Health, passion, purpose. Can you unpack that alignment a bit?
Sure. Health is the bedrock, right? Physical and mental well-being. Without that, pursuing passion or purpose is tough. So that means consistently applying those strategies. Exercise, good food, sleep, stress management.
Okay.
Passion is about making space for things that genuinely light you up. Hobbies, interests, activities you do just for the joy of it. Reconnecting with old ones or finding new ones. And purpose is about clarifying your sense of meaning. What impact do you want to have? How do you want to contribute or grow? What legacy matters to you? And the sources note, purpose can definitely shift in midlife. Staying open is key.
So when those 3 align.
When they're aligned and you're actively nurturing all 3, the material suggests that's when you create a life that feels really vibrant, energized, fulfilling on all levels.
And sustaining that.
Yeah.
Consistency must be key. Which brings us back to maybe having some structure, like a daily routine.
Precisely. Consistency builds momentum. And a well-thought-out daily routine isn't about being rigid like a robot.
Right.
It's about intentionally building in the habits that support your health, your passions, your purpose. The sources suggest things like starting the day positively, maybe with a morning ritual, planning meals, finding ways to move throughout the day, not just formal exercise, setting clear boundaries between work and life, scheduling rest and recovery, including time for those passions, and having a wind-down routine at night to help with sleep.
Tailored to you, obviously.
Totally. It has to fit your life and values, and you have to be willing to adjust it as things change.
So setting those value-aligned goals, nurturing health, passion, purpose, building a supportive routine, that's the active process of crafting this new beginning.
That's presented as the blueprint.
Yeah.
Moving from just reacting to changes to actively shaping your future.
Wow. We've covered a lot today. We've gone from the science behind these midlife changes and the real silence around them to the emotional and relationship impacts, and then landing on strategies, natural, medical, and that crucial mindset shift.
Yeah, and I think what the sources really drive home is that andropause, this whole midlife transition, it's not an ending. It's not just decline. It's a really significant chapter of change, of transformation.
An invitation to evolve.
Exactly. An
Yeah.
invitation to understand what's going on and then use that understanding as fuel for intentional growth.
So your path forward in midlife, it's uniquely yours to shape. As you stepped into this next chapter, maybe consider this. Fuel your life with intention, with care for yourself, with passion for what excites you. Draw on the strength, the wisdom, the courage you gain from understanding all this. The sources really suggest your best years can still be ahead. The most powerful, authentic version of you might still be emerging. So the question is, what will you intentionally build in this next chapter?